Good evening, and welcome to this special weather news forecast. We are bringing you the very latest and most detailed updates on atmospheric conditions across the Atlantic Basin as well as on the mainland United States. Ladies and gentlemen, today's broadcast is packed with key developments. Out in the ocean, a tropical disturbance in the main development region, MDR, of the Atlantic now has a very high probability of becoming Tropical Storm Gabrielle, and very likely the next major hurricane of the season. At the same time, a subtropical low is spinning up just off the coasts of North Carolina and Virginia, producing heavy rainfall, pockets of flooding, and even the chance of waterspouts coming ashore. In addition, a train of fresh tropical waves is rolling in from Africa, underscoring just how complex the meteorological picture has become as we enter the peak of hurricane season. Meanwhile, over the continental United States, dangerous heat is returning to the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, while an upper-level trough interacting with a shallow cold front is primed to ignite severe thunderstorms across the central states. Looking at satellite imagery, you can clearly see a broad cyclonic cloud mass in the MDR of the Atlantic. This is the tropical disturbance that meteorologists have been closely tracking for several days. Its convective core is tightening. The first spiral bands are taking shape, and, most importantly, there is a generous moisture envelope surrounding the system. Thanks to this moisture, the storm has avoided being torn apart by the mid-level dry air intrusion from the west that models had initially anticipated. According to the U.S. National Hurricane Center, the probability of tropical cyclone formation within the next 48 hours is now at 90%, virtually a certainty. This is why the weather community is preparing for the next name on this year's list, Gabrielle. As for environmental conditions, sea surface temperatures where the disturbance is moving currently range from 27 to 29 degrees Celsius, comfortably above the minimum threshold of 26.5 degrees Celsius needed to sustain deep convection. As the system drifts west to west-northwest, the waters grow even warmer, providing ample energy for strengthening. The main limiting factors will be upper-level wind shear and any lingering dry air around the storm. In the near term, Gabrielle may still struggle a bit to consolidate its center, but once a closed circulation forms, rapid intensification into a tropical storm, and possibly a Category 1 or 2 hurricane, becomes quite feasible. To understand where Gabrielle will track, we must zoom out to the larger scale pattern. Right now, a strong subtropical ridge with 591 dm heights stretches across the northeast Atlantic. This ridge has been steering the disturbance west-northwest, but as Gabrielle approaches the western flank of the ridge, it will encounter a weakness caused by a trough digging southward from the North Atlantic. This weakness serves as an exit door, allowing the storm to recurve northward and then northeastward. If this scenario plays out, Gabrielle would become what meteorologists call a fish storm, strengthening well out at sea and then curving away into the open Atlantic without striking the Caribbean or the U.S. mainland. The GFS global model shows the storm gaining latitude quickly. Caught up by the trough, the ECMWF paints a similar track but delays the turn a bit, allowing the system to travel farther west before recurving. Despite slight timing differences, both models agree the Caribbean is not a target. Ensemble guidance further reinforces this with a high degree of consensus. Only a handful of outlier members keep the track farther southwest, and their likelihood is very low. How strong could Gabrielle get? Current moisture and heat content support intensification, though mid-level dry air remains a challenge. Over the next 24 to 48 hours the storm will wrestle with maintaining a stable convective core. But by September 21 to 22, once north of the Caribbean, conditions should improve. Lower wind shear, richer surrounding moisture, and warmer waters. That combination is a recipe for rapid intensification. Should that materialize, Gabrielle could become a powerful hurricane as it lifts into the North Atlantic. Still, each encounter with shear or dry air may stall development, so intensity forecasts remain uncertain. Alongside Gabrielle, a brand new tropical wave has just exited West Africa. It carries deep convection and a healthy moisture axis. However, Its short-term prospects are minimal because of disruptive interaction with Gabrielle ahead of it, too close for comfort, producing shear and moisture competition. In the 5 to 7 day window, if the distance increases, this wave could attempt to organize, and some models even hint at a small tropical storm. But in the longer term, once Gabrielle pulls northeastward, it will leave behind a swath of hostile shear, likely shredding this second wave. Many forecasters therefore expect it to remain weak or dissipate. Closer to the U.S. coast, attention turns to a subtropical low just offshore North Carolina and Virginia. Its structure is asymmetric, with the center displaced from convection and patches of dry air entrained. While unlikely to be named, it still packs a punch. Heavy rain across coastal cities like Virginia Beach, Newport News, Elizabeth City, and the Outer Banks. Localized flooding risk is high, especially when heavy rainfall coincides with high tides. Additionally, outer rainbands brushing the coast may spin up waterspouts. Some could briefly transform into small tornadoes if they move onshore. The probability is low but not zero, so residents should remain vigilant. On the mainland, a mid-level trough sweeping through the Great Plains is interacting with a shallow surface front. This setup is primed for scattered severe thunderstorms. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, Nebraska and Kansas are the hotspots, where heat, abundant humidity, and sufficient low-level shear converge. Hazards include damaging winds, large hail, and even isolated tornadoes. Farther north, Minnesota and the Great Lakes will also see bouts of strong storms. By 72 hours, as the front shifts eastward, storms will target the Mississippi Valley and parts of the Ohio Valley. Behind the front, drier air will suppress further convection. Elsewhere, the south central and southeast U.S. remain under oppressive heat, with highs of 32 to 37 degrees Celsius, locally 38 to 39 degrees Celsius. Missouri and Iowa could even hit 40 degrees Celsius later this week. By contrast, the Midwest and Great Lakes will cool once the front clears through. The West stays hot and dry, except for brief mountain showers. Climate centers project that from now through September 24 to 25, much of the U.S. will endure above normal temperatures. The Midwest, Great Plains, and Ohio Valley are at the heart of this heatwave, while the Northeast and Northwest enjoy milder conditions, holding in the 20 to 25 degrees Celsius range. Along the Pacific coast, temperatures run below average due to influence from offshore lows near Alaska and British Columbia. Precipitation this week will be concentrated across the plains and Midwest with repeated thunderstorm clusters. Florida and the Southeast also continue their daily cycle of downpours, raising flood concerns. By contrast, the Northeast and most of the East Coast stay dry, with no relief yet from short-term drought. In summary, in the Atlantic MDR, the disturbance almost certainly becomes Gabrielle, likely strengthening but recurving harmlessly into the open ocean. A trailing African wave may try to develop but faces long odds due to shear. Off the U.S. East Coast, a subtropical low produces heavy rain, flooding, and possible waterspouts from North Carolina to Virginia. Across the U.S., dangerous heat expands in the Midwest and Ohio Valley, while severe storms threaten the plains with hail, strong winds, and isolated tornadoes. Over the next 7 to 10 days, above normal heat dominates central states. Rainfall focuses on the plains and Florida, while the Northeast and Northwest stay relatively dry. Please remember, this is an in-depth analysis, not an official warning. Always follow alerts from your local meteorological agencies and emergency management offices to stay safe. That concludes today's special weather news forecast. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest information. We wish you and your families safety and peace. See you in our next broadcast.